So I believe you can see me now. Just give me a moment. Hello, testing. Hello. Can you hear me, Dheeraj now? Hello, testing. Hello. Dheeraj, can you hear me now?
Jenny, we can't hear you.
Jeff, can you hear us? Hear me?
I can, yes.
Jeff can hear me. There must be some. We can hear you, Dheeraj, so that's good. If you can speak, Dheeraj, we can hear you pretty well. So, okay, so hello everyone. I will just wait for another 1-2 minutes and then we'll start.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Awesome. Hey, Jeff. Welcome.
Just give me a moment. I'm just checking that the streaming is working fine.
It must be early morning for you, Jeff.
It's about 7:30 on Saturday morning.
That's correct. It's 10:30 for me. I live in Washington, D.C.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I lived there for many years, actually.
Yeah, I was about to say that your old place where you've been in Virginia area, I think you were there, right?
I was.
Yeah.
I worked in Reston for a long time.
That's correct, yeah. You're very excited, Jeff. Very excited.
Well, I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, so looks like we are ready. So welcome, Jeff, into the event, and we are very much excited to see you here. We are still seeing a flux of people joining. India is almost devastated with the new COVID wave that has come up. So we may see not as much what we anticipated, but we'll see the flux of people still joining. Still the motivation is high here. And welcome, Dheeraj. So Dheeraj is my partner there in US, and what I will do is I have with me my team, Gavaskar, Jay, and a couple of other guys who are managing the whole show in the background. So what I will do is, like, because I'm mostly managing in the background, so I will pass the mic to Dheeraj to start with, and do further ado. Dheeraj, please.
Thank you so much, Anjani. Let me try and share my screen and let me know if you guys can see my screen or not. Let me know. You see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks, Anjani. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fifth Eye platform. I'm really excited. I mean, you can see my face. I'm really excited, especially Jeff, you being in here. Thanks so much, Jeff, for giving us the opportunity to speak about you first to start with. As we all can see on the first page, Jeff is the vice president and chief evangelist with AWS. He has guys. He having over 660,000 people followers in Twitter. Oh, I mean, it's something. It's something. Trust me. He
So
has
I believe you
over
can see me now.
a couple of decades experience in IT industry, which is like 46 years of experience he has. He's been with AWS for close to 19 years in there. Um, Almost like when since the AWS started, I would say. He's the one who started the AWS blog site in 2004. He I mean, he started his career when even not even I was born in 1976. So excited and so excited to discuss about his journey and about the technologies he's been into. He was a program manager in Microsoft in 1997. um, so uh, so that's something to start with about the Jeff. I mean, there are so many things to about talk about him, but yeah, let me move forward with the next slide. Bear with me. Okay. All right, so some important information about the audience who are on stream. You can always, I mean, if you're looking at to chat with us, to paste your the any of the question notes or anything, if you want to chat with us, you can go to fifthire.com/Jeff and you can provide your information and you can chat with us. For those people who are on stream, we can also have the certificate at the same place. You can claim for your certificate. Once we're done with the session, there will be a code which will be shared to the entire audience, and then they can claim their certificate on that. Um, so let me quickly talk about what fifth IR is. We are ready for the fifth IR. I mean, fifth revolution, fifth industrial revolution. We are across the world. I mean, this is the latest data what we have. We've been touched almost all of the habitable. You can see that on continents. So we have like everywhere across the board and over. So let me quickly talk about exactly what we do. So it's a platform where we do the agile sessions to develop you or to develop the people as T-shaped. Now T-shaped is a little interesting piece of it. So we try and capture the vertical and the horizontal of the technologies and the especially with the industry. So I think additional. Okay. Now, so we are across the world. I mean, to start with, multi-cloud technologies is the parent where we have Fifth IR, which does all the education related sessions and everything. We have end-to-end product as well, which can help us build the whole solutions. Um, we are in India, of course. We are in US. We are in Singapore, and we're in UK. Oops, sorry. Let me close this. Okay. So we say that we have a four generations of transformer as guest because there are people who are the youngest CEO, like Dipanshu, who's very young and who's a CEO in startup. And we have, as we know, we have Bill Iman. Bill Iman is basically a father of data warehouse who invented the data warehouse. He's also part of us. Jeff, we know Jeff is another legend with us. Bob, who's another legion. So we have a variety of people, right from all different generations of people to talk about technologies, to update and to give their and to share their journey with their experience and their knowledge. AWS, we all know. Sorry, you want to say something, Jeff? Okay. AWS cloud globally. So we know that we have like 80 different availability zones across 25 different geographic region, with plans of coming up with 15 more or so in different regions like in Australia, India, Indonesia, Spain, and Switzerland. I mean, we all know, the entire world know how AWS and how what they're doing in the industry. So his Jeff, about Jeff, as I already mentioned, is, I mean, whatever I say is always less because the legend what he is. So
So
you can
adding to
always reach out.
Yeah, so
Please go ahead.
adding Udhira, so it's 46 years, which is enormous. Like it started his career in 1976. I was still not born. Dhira was not born. Many of us would
Yeah,
not have been
that's right.
born there. And
That's right.
then I started as a programmer, then as a consultant, then as a principal manager, principal program manager, principal architect, director, vice president in multiple companies. And then he started as an evangelist in AWS. He worked as a director and then moved as vice president. He was the person who started AWS blog, and which has been powering whatever the product team has been doing, the magic that has been doing in the background to the world to let us understand what they are doing and what they want to. So he has been the mouthpiece of the product team for long to tell people and let people understand what AWS is for us. What we know about AWS is somewhere Jeff has a strong contribution around it. Um, it's just like from the beginning when we joined into the industry, any HR manager would ask us, "What would you like to do after 5 years, 7 years, 10 years down the line?"
Yeah,
So
I,
Jeff's story is something which you can just copy and paste and say, "I
yes,
can do
one.
something.
So
I can do like this."
we always
Yes.
say one liner, right,
Yeah.
Anjani? What a journey one should always dreamed of.
Yes.
I
Yes.
would say that. So thank
Yes.
you, Jeff, again.
Yeah.
So let me, having said that, so let me move to the next slide to talk about who we are. And Anjani mentioned about me. I am the co-founder of Multi Cloud in Fifth IR. Anjani is the founder. We have the entire team. So Gavarskar is our delivery director, I mean, we are 4 or 5 people are already behind the scene, and we are running the bot and in the background, and our team is working towards, all the everything, like right from streaming, setting up the whole thing. It's live across the world. So that's the main people are these people are the main people. I think Jay's picture is not there. Jay Mithunjay is another person who's also in this. So let's move to the next slide to talk about the agenda. So today's agenda is the latest to talk about latest features with AWS in area of hybrid and multi-cloud. AWS for fintech and banks, AWS for startups and small businesses. We all know that, especially in Bay Areas, there are numerous company who's been relying on AWS because of the options and so many less, expense they would have to face towards setting up their environment and all. We'll try and get those certain questions which has been collected from different audience. We'll open the question answer sessions, first come first serve. We'll try and handle quite a few questions, we depending on how time permits. I've already taken almost 10-12 minutes. So over to Jeff, and right after Jeff's session completes, as I said, I'll be sharing the code, and I'll let you know
And
how to claim your
yes,
certificate.
and
Yeah, please go ahead.
adding to Dhira, so there will be a question hour. So we have collected few great questions from technologies across our community. So Jeff would be trying to answer whatever he can, and then he can also guide us to someone who can help us out there. And then also we'll give opportunity for the audience to type in their question. They can type in through the way Dhira said is through the chat box, and also which is there on the fifth IR link, which is the Facebook chat box. Our team is monitoring is our bots are there in the background. You can connect to our Telegram channel, and also you can chat in and type in the chat window here, and we'll pick up the question and ask with Jeff. Thank you, and back to Jeff. Jeff, please.
floor is yours, Jeff. Can you unmute him,
Yes.
please?
Yeah. Just Jeff has to. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I am so excited to be speaking to all of you today. I'm coming to you from Seattle, Washington. It's a little bit of a rainy Saturday morning here, kind of spring. We're still really waiting for spring to show up. Diraj and Anjani, really appreciate all your very, very kind words. It's an honor to speak to you. I know this pandemic has been just really, really awful, and I've been reading just this week about just how things have gotten just really bad. And in India, my heart just really goes out to you and all of your families. And do your best just to be really careful and to stay safe. We can't ever look at some just tragedy like this and say, wow, there's some kind of a blessing or a benefit, but because there isn't. It's just a really horrible kind of a situation all around. I do say that we are learning a little bit about remote connection and remote presentation, and this ability for me to sit here at my desk and share with you. Don't know that I'd necessarily be able to travel halfway around the world to present these days, but being able to stream from my desktop is hopefully a reasonable substitute. So I'm going to give you just a few minutes of kind of an update on what I often call AWS what's new. And there's always something new with AWS, as you know. I do a presentation once a quarter to the industry analysts, the Gartners and Forresters and so forth. And I've taken some material from one of my most recent presentations there to share with you.
Jeff, one request. Looks like the screen is not coming, the full screen. So if you can do something to make it full
Not
screen.
the full screen. Let me see what I can see here. Okay, it's being shown as shared. Let me see what I'm seeing there. Are you not seeing my slides at all?
Yes, we are able to see. We are able to read, so we can continue here. No issues.
Okay.
And the size, it shows up really small.
Size shows up really small. Okay, look. How about that?
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Okay. In a single week, sometimes I use 3 or 4 different presentation technologies, and every one of them works just a little bit differently. So let me go ahead and put that off to the side. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our global infrastructure. We always continue to just expand the footprint of AWS around the world. And in the last quarter, we added a pair of new CloudFront edge locations in Croatia and in Indonesia. We've been working really hard to get wavelength into more locations around the world. So wavelength is this really interesting combination of AWS and 5G. And what we do is we've been working with telecom providers, and we started with some telecom providers in the US, and we're starting to go beyond the US now, where we put very select AWS compute and storage services in effectively the communication hubs of the 5G telecom providers. This means that as our customers are building the newest generation of apps that are 5G powered, they have very, very, very low latency from these very specific geographic areas to the 5G communication center, and from there to the effectively the local AWS compute and storage resources. So we're starting in the US, we will go global over time. But what you should think about is this ability you have to build all kinds of applications that can make use of 5G with really high bandwidth and very, very low latency. So I'm very excited about what we're doing with wavelength zones. When you look at all the different CloudFront edge locations we have right now, we're now at over 225 in 90 cities and 47 countries around the world. This is in 2 different levels. So the apps that you build and that you give out to your customers, those apps are going to make requests to any of the 215 edge locations. If the material that they need is present, it's going to be served up directly from an edge location. If it's not found there, the next kind of place to check is one of the regional mid-tier caches. So we go from the edge to the mid-tier cache. If the information is cached there, it's then returned to the edge and from there to the end user. But only if it's not at either of those 2 locations do we go back to the origin. So the idea of this very rich, very complex set of points of presence is just to get the content, either static or dynamically generated content, out to your users just as quickly as possible. We continue to build more and more AWS availability zones around the world. There are currently 80 in operation. There are 15 more under construction. Another piece of what we're doing, and a lot of you can see that the goal here is to get compute power and storage and processing just as close to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. We started to build, in addition to the wavelength zones, which take advantage of the 5G, we're building local zones where the local zones are basically a smaller footprint of AWS that we can build more and more quickly. We've announced we've got 2 operational local zones in Los Angeles. We have 3 others in the US that are in a preview. We've got, in addition to that, we've got 12 additional in construction in the US. And we will then, as always, we start small and we grow over time. One thing I want to always make clear is that we grow and we build services in response to customer demand. So when you see that we're launching services in particular parts of the world, we're launching availability zones, we're launching regions, we always need to hear from you. We need to hear about your use cases, your projections, and if you're working directly with an AWS salesperson or account manager, give them a heads up. Say, okay, this is where we are. This is where we'd like to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years. Give them your plans, give them your projections, so they can actually feed that back in, and that can feed into our plans here. So we've currently got 25 regions around the world. We are currently building 15 additional availability zones that are spread out across these five regions that you see here. Just last November, I announced that our second region in India is underway. It'll be the AWS Asia Pacific Hyderabad region. We're looking to have that open in mid-22. This will have 3 availability zones. It'll be our second region in India and our 11th region in Asia. So let's talk a little bit about some of the newest AWS compute services. And I've taken some content from my analyst deck. I've taken a few update notes from reInvent as well. One thing that underlies a lot of our most recent innovation is what we call the AWS Nitro system. So with the Nitro system, we have been really making a big investment in building custom hardware. We've got the Nitro security chip that makes sure that when the hardware boots up, that it verifies the integrity of the hardware and the software. We've got the Nitro hypervisor, which provides very, very lightweight virtualization. We've got the Nitro cards that take care of things like encryption and fast access to storage. So we are building our own hardware now from the ground up, designing, building our own chips. You've probably seen some of the work that we've done with the Graviton 2 processor. This is an ARM-based architecture that we have developed ourselves, that we can iterate very, very quickly, and that we can also adapt very, very quickly as new customer use cases emerge. The Nitro system lets us do some very, very powerful things. So, for example, we launched earlier this year the Nitro Enclave. So the Nitro Enclave is this very, very protected environment within the already well-protected environment of EC2. So when you launch one of these Enclave environments, you actually get a set of digital signatures that describe the hardware, the operating environment, the application environment, and you can actually use that to confirm that you're running in the expected environment
Jeff,
with the expected
about
OS
Jeff, as I already
with the
mentioned,
expected software.
I mean,
So this
whatever
is
I
a
say
very
is
highly
always less
secure environment, and
Legion
the
would.
environment itself is protected so that if you have to be in a situation where you're processing customer data, and you have to have an incredible degree of isolation, and you might be in situations where there's a kind of an arm's length relationship, if you will, between you and the customer, where the customer says, well, I'll share with you my data, but you have to promise not to go deep inside that data. Just process it in this controlled environment. You can use the Nitro Enclave to do that. In the last 6 months or so, we've launched a number of different new types of EC2 instances. At reInvent, we launched the Mac instances, so customers can run Mac software. We've launched many new Graviton powered instances from the C6GN, which have so to take one of these apart, the model numbers apart, if you will. The C says that it's compute optimized. The 6 is 6th generation. The G is for Graviton, and the N is for enhanced networking performance. So you can see the C6GN has all of those. G4AD is GPU powered. M5ZN gives you very high single-threaded performance. D3 and D3N for dense storage, and R5B for high bandwidth to storage. So those are some that we announced at reInvent, and then just earlier this month we announced the X2GD. So these are for customers that run very applications that need a lot of memory. So again, taking apart the model number or the name, X is for the high memory optimized, 2 for the 2nd generation, G for Graviton, and then D for local storage. So this is because it's Graviton powered. It's compatible with ARM applications, designed for your scale out workloads, things like in-memory databases, memory analytics, relational databases, customers doing electronic design automation, caching servers. You can see that they're available in a lot of sizes. You can start at a single VPU and 16 gigabytes of memory, and go all the way up to the 16x large or the metal with 64 vCPUs and 1,024 gigabytes of memory, and local storage to go along with this. So when you see all these different instance types, the thing that you should think about is just the flexibility and the options that you have for picking the instance type that is the best possible fit for your particular workload. A couple quick storage notes. One of the most recent launches we did for EFS. So as a reminder, EFS is the elastic file system. So basically lets you create a network file system accessible via NFS in the cloud. We know that customers always want more and more cost effectiveness for their storage, and they're always looking make it to effectively lower their costs and make it easier to run more kinds of applications on AWS. So we introduced a pair of storage classes within EFS that we call infrequent access. So the pair of these are standard infrequent access and then one zone infrequent access. When you use either of these, and when you enable lifecycle management so that your infrequently accessed files can go from the standard to the infrequent access, you can end up saving up to 92% on your storage costs when you just simply enable lifecycle management for your EFS volumes. One of the reasons that we do this is because talking to customers and talking to industry analysts, we learn that within a typical file system, generally somewhere around 20% of the files on that file system are accessed frequently. The other 80%, they're valuable data, but you just don't actually need to access them very frequently. So instead of having to manage that manually and have multiple types of file systems, you can simply enable the lifecycle management, and you can have EFS take care of that for you. All right, a few notes on some developer tools. This is one of my favorite recent launches, is the fault injection simulator, and I try my best not to play favorites because we have so many great launches and so many teams building interesting things. But I'm really excited by this one because we have a lot of customers that are building AWS applications with very interesting, very complex architectures, a lot of different AWS services coming into play. And customers want to have a lot of confidence in the resilience, the scalability. They want to know, as we build these complicated architectures, how can we be very, very confident that if a component fails, if an API fails, if a service starts to run a little bit slowly, how do we get the confidence in that architecture over time? So the fault injection simulator lets our customers, first, you build your system, And then with the fault injection simulator, you can create experiments and you can say, well, let's very, very carefully under these controlled situations, let's take some of these instances offline. Let's fail over a database. Let's make these API calls run a little bit more slowly than usual. We launched this at reInvent. We announced general availability earlier this year. And it currently supports EC2, it supports the container service, it supports the Elastic Kubernetes service and RDS. And one thing that you've probably noticed if you've been part of AWS for any length of time, we start with something new, and we don't build every possible feature to start with. We always start with something that is a big step forward, but leaves a lot of room for us to progress past that. And with the fault injection simulator, you can see that we support an important, but by no means complete list of services. And if you'd like, I've actually got that pulled up here on, let me see if I could do a really quick share here. And what I want to do, let me stop that sharing. I'm going to share another screen with you. Okay, well, I want to give you an actual quick demo of the of FIS. I'm hoping you can see my EC2 screen right now. Okay, so right now, what I have, let's see, in just one sec here. Okay, all right, I have 5 EC2 instances running.
Sorry, Jeff. Can you expand that, please?
Sure, of
increase
course.
the size again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate
Let
it.
us do that. Better there?
Perfect.
Great. Okay. I have a really big screen here on my desktop, so I'm never quite sure what ends up being too big. Okay. So I have 5 EC2 instances running here. And just for demo purposes, let's imagine that this dev instance, that's my developer instance. I don't want to touch that. But I've got 4 test instances. And what I've done is I've tagged each of those. Let me set up my tags here. I have tagged my test instances. I have a tag called mode, and the tag on my test instances is just really simply test. So these are just 4 T2 Nano instances, really nothing special. But I want to use those as part of my test. I want to make sure that if I were to take these instances offline and imagine that these are part of a bigger system, a bigger environment. With FIS, I can construct an experiment, and I do that by building an experiment template. So here's my list of experiment templates. I've got just one right now. And I call this one stop test instances, not actually a very creative name. So what this does, well, let's take this apart. The first piece, it has a set of targets. And so the list of targets are all EC2 instances. And I say I want to select all of the targets that have a tag with the name of mode and a value of test. So this is basically saying, what do we want to affect as part of my test? Now I have an action, and the action is going to operate on those targets. So the action basically just says, I want to stop all the instances that have the tag of test. Now, the purpose of running one of these simulated faults is to say, if we were to do this particular action, we want to verify that the system continues to work as we expect. So what you want to do is you also create a CloudWatch alarm that would indicate is something not running properly. And that says when we introduce this fault, the system actually didn't work as expected. So what I have is a simple CloudWatch alarm called system busy, with the idea being, if I take these instances, if I stop these instances and my system gets too busy, that is not what I want to happen. I really want my system to keep on going as expected. So if while we're conducting this experiment, the system gets busy, that's an error condition, and I don't have enough scalability, I don't have enough resilience to continue. So I've got my actions, I've got my targets. And one really interesting thing is we can actually go in and we could do an update here. There are many different kinds of actions that we could choose to do on our resources. So we can reboot instances, we can stop them, we can terminate them, We have several different actions on containers. We can drain container instances to take a certain number of instances within a cluster offline. We can terminate instances within an EKS cluster. And we can also introduce effectively simulated low-level errors. We can